Hi everyone, and welcome back to Blues Wireless TV. Many of us or our loved ones have been touched by cancer. Today, we talk with Rakshit Sharma, who's working to ease the burden of cancer treatments, improve patient outcomes, and reduce healthcare expenditures. Welcome to the show, Rakshit.
Hi, Gabe. Very nice to meet you.
Likewise. Please, tell the folks at home who you are and what you do.
I'm founder CEO of Agilix Health. I am a physician entrepreneur. I trained as a physician, and now I have a stealth mode digital health company, which enables cancer patients to live longer, more healthy, and actually have much better outcomes for health systems.
Stealth mode. Sounds intriguing. Now, without divulging too much, Rakshit, can you describe Agilix Health to our audience?
So, Agilix Health is a digital care and nutrition platform for cancer patients in treatment. Majority of the cancer treatments take place in an outpatient basis, which means patient has to go into the hospital, get their infusion or medication, go back home, and repeat this as long as the treatment lasts.
Would you please describe cancer treatments for those in our audience who haven't experienced or been close to them before?
These treatments are highly toxic and they have a lot of side effects. Things like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, which drive ED emergency consumption, care consumption for these patients. And the challenge what the system has is that since the patients are in their home when they're experiencing these side effects, it's a very reactive care model.
When you say reactive care, what does that mean in a practical sense?
The patient goes to the hospital, they take the treatment, they go home, they throw up, and then they come to the ED. What we are trying to do by virtue of Agilix Health and the platform what we have built is support the patient in between their medical appointments. And the way we do it is through nutrition support, through remote monitoring, which picks on different signals from the patient and use that to inform and evolve their care plans.
Care in the emergency room comes at a very high cost, as we know. What else is challenging with this care model?
The challenge with the historic model was that it's very reactive in nature, which means that patients take their cancer treatments, they go to their home, they start throwing up, and then they either show to the ED emergency department or they get hospitalized. And then the system actually treats them for whatever side effects they have.
There certainly seems like plenty of room for improvement. What is Agilix Health doing for this?
The model what we are building is that the moment patient takes their chemo infusions or their cancer treatments, we start monitoring the patients as they are going to their home. We are supporting the patients, we are keeping tabs, we are doing both ongoing subjective and objective assessment of the patients, and we are picking up for very specific signals which lead to either their treatment disruption or hospital visits or emergency visits.
So what happens when your systems pick up signals indicating a health concern?
We alert the care teams for early intervention or early course correction rather than small issues which then can snowball into impaired outcome for these patients.
It sounds like your solution will improve cancer treatment-related symptoms by getting ahead of symptom issues earlier, rather than waiting for a patient to check into the emergency room. What are some of the forces driving this innovation?
Outside of impaired clinical implications for the patient, which means treatment disruption, survival, quality of life, and a bad experience which comes together with not managing some of these symptoms. The business implication for the hospital systems for practices is that it directly impacts not just their workflow, but both their top line and bottom line. As the newer guidelines are coming in for reimbursement, now there are associated penalties for avoidable readmissions for the cancer patients. Many times, these avoidable hospitalization readmissions are because of relatively easy to manage things like nausea, diarrhea, pain, which if caught early can lead to improved outcomes, time on treatment, patient satisfaction. And that's what we are trying to do with picking up for those early signals for any kind of treatment disruptors or patient distress. And we pick on those early signals, we feed them back to the hospital, to the providers for early management of those issues. Our platform and our service has both top line and bottom line implication for providers and payers. And of course, patients who have improved patient experience and outcomes, with products such as ours.
My heart goes out to those dealing with cancer and cancer treatments. On the human side, I'm very happy to hear that your product is able to improve the lives of those who have challenging medical conditions. And on the economic side, would you mind quantifying the problems that are addressed by Agilix Health?
So there is already data out there that close to about 60% of all cancer patients in treatment, they visit emergency department at least once within 12 months of their diagnosis and treatment initiation. The emergency department visits, they're not just costly, on average costing about $8,000 to the payers, to the patients, but they are very disruptive to the patients as well. There's already data that at least 50% of these emergency department visits are potentially avoidable by proactive care measures, proactive care management, and monitoring of these patients so that some of the issues which are relatively minor, they don't snowball into issues which require emergency department visits or hospitalization for these patients.
Yes, that does make sense. And I can see where the costs add up quickly, and equally important, how patients benefit personally by keeping elements of their condition from becoming acute and requiring emergency treatment.
Emergency department visit by the cancer patient not just affects them and their caregivers, but it's a burden for the hospital systems as well. It impacts their quality scores. It imposes penalties around quality metrics, which Medicare, CMS is bringing out around avoidable hospitalization and ED visits for outpatient cancer treatment. But it's a burden for the payers as well, because this $8,000 which is spent on managing the care in an emergency department could have been avoided if the patients were being monitored and managed as they were going through their treatment. And proactive care measures were actually put in place to avoid an event like this happening. That's what Agilix enables hospital systems and payer systems to do, to monitor the patients as they're going through their outpatient treatment and picking up signals which could be addressed in time rather than snowball into an emergency department visit.
What was your experience building up your product during the COVID-19 pandemic?
So last 18 months of the pandemic basically taught us, it showed the gaps in care, the cracks in care. It showed that care is on 24/7. It's coming outside of the hospital, outside the four walls of the hospital. And it forced all of us in a way to think how to bring quality care to the patients in their home. That's where the Blues team actually helped us innovate on multiple aspects. Thinking about rapid prototyping for devices which were historically analog and used within the confines of the four walls of the hospital, the Blues team helped us innovate, prototype one of the devices which is actually critical for monitoring how the cancer patients are going through their treatment journey. They were able to connect us with manufacturing facilities, with product designers, and helping us come up with a product which we were able to prototype within 6 weeks of us meeting the team. And we are very pleased with the way the product has come out and what the product roadmap and vision looks like, not just for us, but even for our patients and hospital systems.
What was it that drew you to Blues Wireless initially?
So think about Blues Wireless and the note card, which most appealed to us was ease of use, while not just prototyping, but actually building production-ready, scalable solution with that. The fact that the note card comes with 10 years of data connectivity is a huge plus when we are innovating to bring high-quality innovation to patients at affordable prices. More than that, our vision of what quality care can look like at scale is shared with the Blues Wireless team, who has been an equal partner with us in innovating and developing some of these care solutions for the patients who need them the most.
Was there anyone at Blues that you found especially helpful?
So I would especially like to thank Pawan, who helped us not just thinking through the right kind of technology, but even envisioning the product. Pawan was very instrumental in the rapid prototyping of a device, in coming up with different options for rapid prototyping, including the partners, Axelbox, who we ended up working with. And we had very pleasant experience with them as well.
How did the Blues Wireless technology affect your product roadmap?
With Blues Wireless team, we were able to innovate on multiple products, the first one of which is our connected grip strength device, in basically half the time what it took us to develop one on a different platform. The fact, by the virtue of the affordable data connectivity and data plan, has allowed us to significantly reduce the price of getting this manufactured and bringing this innovation to the market and have a wider impact on the patients who need it.
Can you describe how the lives of patients are improved by using Agilix Health products?
The value of technology or remote monitoring or devices, especially in our cases, giving patients control back, making them equal participant in their care outcomes. The devices what we have developed with Blues and the devices what we are going to develop with Blues gives that control back to the patient. By the virtue of looking and using high quality devices for their objective assessment, there are things what they can do to improve their own outcomes. The prime example for something like this was blood glucose monitors, which 25, 30 years ago brought objectivity into management of diabetes. We are looking to bring that objectivity, that quantification of managing very high cost disease areas like cancer and giving the control back to the patient, showing them the data which is actionable, showing them the data which is with them, and which can enable them to take steps which improve their clinical outcomes and reduce their overall cost of treatment.
This has been very interesting, and I really appreciate what you and your team are doing to make patients more comfortable and have better outcomes. It was a pleasure having you on the show today, Rakshit.
Gabe, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time